Welcome to Spaventoso Speculates, where we discuss 15 more commander cards that you should be buying, maybe playing, and especially if you don't mind not making friends. These are some salty cards that might be underutilized that you should be keeping your eye on, maybe picking up a few copies for some decks. As always, be sure to check the playlist for other episodes, and if you don't want to hear me talk, just skip to the end. There's a quick cheat sheet of all 15 cards. First up, we have Eye of the Storm. It's an enchantment for 5 and 2 blue. For whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery card, remove it from the game, then that player copies each instant or sorcery card removed from the game with Eye of the Storm. For each copy, that player may play the copy without paying its mana cost. A while back, this card spiked to about over $3. Foils over $10.30, but for about $1.30, you can have your very own copy. It's used in 0.22% of decks, and this is sure to cause some chaos at the table, and that is what we're looking to do with this list. Some of the commanders that are running this card: Ian Malcolm, Neva Wildmage. Yeah, the blue-red commanders definitely going to have a lot of good spells to use, but there's some 3-color, 4-color commanders on this list as well, and I think maybe with some green in there you can ramp up and hit that 7 mana pretty consistently. Card number 2, Fade from History. It is a sorcery for 2 and 2 green. Each player who controls an artifact or enchantment creates a 2/2 green bear creature token, then destroy all artifacts and enchantments. It's from Brothers War. At 80 cents for the foil is pretty nice. About the same price for a non-foil if you don't like foils for some reason. Used in 0.90% of decks on EDH Rec. And I shouldn't be showing good cards to green players because green is already good enough in Commander. But this is kind of a board wipe for artifacts and enchantments. The 2/2 isn't really going to make that big of a deal in the end. So if you don't have any of these in your collection, you might want to pick up a couple. We'll take a look here now at the commanders. Yurgra, Eater of All. It's a cat commander. A couple of bear commanders, obviously, for the bear flavor. But I think this can go in just about any green deck that is not too reliant on enchantments or artifacts. And it'll get rid of those pesky Rhystic Studies and all them mana rocks all these players are running. On to card number 3, Fight or Flight. 3 and a white for an enchantment from Invasion back in 2000. At the beginning of each opponent's combat phase, separate all creatures that player controls into 2 face-up piles. Only creatures in the pile of his or her choice may attack this turn. This is going to paint a pretty big target on your back, considering combat damage is the way a lot of decks win, especially in brackets 1 through 3. As you can see, this card's on the rise. The foil is already spiked, almost $20. Non-foil is about $2 right now. It's been going up over the last year or so. Used in 0.10% of decks on EDH Rec. And some of those decks include the Celestial Toymaker, Corona False God, Sithless Harvest Hand. I like it in that deck. And a bunch of other white commanders, I think. Maybe if you have a strategy, so maybe Vigilance or some Evasion in your deck, to flying to get around the blocking, I think this might be good. Don't expect this to last long on the board because you're either going to get targeted or it'll get removed pretty quick. Card number 4, Forsaken Wastes. 2 and a black. This one is an enchantment. Players cannot gain life. During each player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life. If Forsaken Wastes is the target of a successfully cast spell, that spell's caster loses 5 life. Now this card spiked pretty recently, about a couple months ago. It's on its way back down, which is why I wanted to bring it to your attention. Somebody probably bought up a lot of these copies and they are trickling out. It's on the reserve list. That's why it spiked so hard. But if $20 is out of your price range, just keep an eye on this. You might be able to pick up some slightly played or moderately played copies for a bit cheaper, used in 0.11% of decks, such as Obnixilis, Morgus, Sig River Cutthroat, or the Enchanter. Lots of black-red commanders are using this card, and I think it can find some more uses maybe in the future. Maybe if some of your play group has a lot of life gain, this might be something you can slot into a couple of your decks to give you a better chance against the life gain getting out of control. Card 5, From the Ashes, 3 and a red, sorcery, destroy all non-basic lands. For each land destroyed this way, its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield. Then each player who searched his or her library this way shuffles it. This card is under $2, used in 0.21% of decks. It's probably pretty high on the salt score and would put you in a bracket 4 or so for the land destruction. And you're going to obviously want to probably have a 3 or 4 color commander to best make use out of this, so you can go get a bunch of basic lands and play a bunch of basic lands in your deck as well, and mana rocks and such. This card is used a lot in some mono red decks here, Zozu the Punisher, but the Zell from Final Fantasy is using it as well, which could put some pressure on the card. Krenko Mob Boss, also those pesky Krenko players are using some mass land destruction. Definitely a card that's not going to make you a lot of friends if you use it a lot. That's what we're here for. Card 6, Game Preserve, 200 green enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player reveals the top card of his or her library. If all cards revealed this way are creature cards, put those cards into play under their owner's control. Otherwise, put them back face down on the top of their owner's libraries. Foil's about $13, but some market an average price under 50 cents, used in 0.02% of decks. This card isn't always going to be effective, but when it is, hopefully you'll get a big, dumb creature, and they'll just get some silly little 1/1. That's what you're going to need to build your deck around in order to make use out of it. Some of the commanders that are putting this in their decks, Feldegriff, Kendrith, Gibo, Corona, all sorts of different commanders are playing around with this card. There's really no way to guarantee everyone's deck is going to have a creature on top, but at least you'll get to peek a little bit at their deck and see what's coming down the road. And maybe if you're in a creature heavy pod, you can get a couple of triggers off of this. Card number 7 brings us Gibbering Descent, 4 and 2 black enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life and discards a card. Hellbent, skip your upkeep step. If you have no cards in hand, Madness, 2 and 2 black. This card jumped to about $10. It's back down to under $3, used in 0.11% of decks. I like this not just because it's consistently discarding cards in your opponent's hands, but the skip your upkeep step might come into play if you build around it, or if new commanders come out that have some sort of negative effect during your upkeep that you want to end up skipping. This card might spike, might be worth picking up some copies now while it's cheap, especially since it was originally printed in 2007. The artwork too, I don't know if Peer Into the Abyss kind of copied this artwork a little bit, but here are the commanders that have this in their deck. Angie Falconwrath, some Madness commanders, Tiny Bones, Terragrid, God of Fright. Yeah, I think if you have some other cards in your deck that might have negative effects during your upkeep that you'd want to skip, this would be something you should have your eye on. Next card, card 8, Global Ruin. Another card that's pretty high on the salt scale. 4 and a white for a sorcery. Each player chooses from the lands he or she controls a land of each basic land type, then sacrifices the rest. Foil, almost $20. However, the non-foil, about 50 cents, is pretty reasonable to pick up a couple of copies. Maybe a playset for $2. You might be doing pretty good. Using 0.04% of decks, probably because the players who use this card don't have a lot of friends. But that's not what this list is. This is a list to play cards and buy cards that are going to shake up the table a little bit. These are the commanders that are running it. Lavinia, Child of Alara, Grand Arbiter Augustine, Send Triplets, another Kenrith as well. Some of those players know that they need to run some basic lands. A lot of pods might not be running too many basic lands, so this is going to hurt them hopefully more than it hurts you. Goblin Game is up next for card 9, 5 and 2 red. For sorcery, each player hides at least one object, then all players reveal them simultaneously. Each player loses life equal to the number of objects he or she revealed. The player who revealed the fewest objects then loses half his or her life rounded up. If 2 or more players are tied for fewest, each player loses half his or her life rounded up. I don't know if you necessarily need to hide objects, although that is fun. But maybe writing down a number might be a better way to do it. Foil, $30. Non-foil, under $1 if you have a clean copy. 0.14% of decks use this. And I use this in one of my fun little goblin decks. It's like a coin flipping kind of random goblin deck. And you're using this here just mostly to shake the table up, have a little fun. These are the commanders. Some of the commanders that use it: Norn the Wary, Ian Malcolm, Correct the Thumbless, Kranko Mob Boss. Yeah, and you're just kind of gambling here a little bit that someone is willing to lose half his or her life that doesn't really know how the card works, and that your experience with using it more and kind of gauging the numbers that people commonly pick can make you not be the one losing half your life. Hikori Dust Drinker is our next card at number 10. This is another one pretty high on the salt scale. Lands don't untap during their controller's untap steps. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player untaps a land he or she controls. And now, I'm not saying use this as a commander, but maybe in some white decks, some Staxy kind of control-y decks, this might be a good option. A while back, this card was almost $10, but I think some minor reprints, putting it on the list, and maybe a secret lair kind of dipped it back down to about $2, $1.50. And I think it might be underutilized as just a 99. Some of the commanders here, or some of the cards, I guess, that work with it well, you can see. But I think maybe some white-focused decks can run this guy as one of the 99 and not make very many friends along the way. Card 11, Ichneumon Druid. Ichneumon Druid, I don't know how to pronounce that. Legends was a wild set. But as you can see, this card, 2021 or so, was spiking pretty hard, and it is back down to a more reasonable price. About $4 probably for a near mint, slightly played copy. It is a druid that deals 4 damage to any opponent casting an instant, but not for the first instant cast by that opponent in each turn. It's a 1/1. Used in 0.01% of decks, probably because people might remember it as being a more expensive card than it is now. It's a great sort of like pseudo protection card for mono green, such as some of these commanders. A for Generatorus, Setting Corrosion Protector. And I like it in these older Legends Commander decks as well. I think some players are running it for flavor. But if you are worried about maybe combo decks or blue or red players, just cast in a bunch of instants. It's a good card to slot into your deck to chip away at their life totals. Card 12, Infinite Hourglass. It's an artifact for 4 colorless. During your upkeep, put a time counter on Infinite Hourglass. All creatures get +X+0, where X is equal to the number of time counters on Infinite Hourglass. Any player may pay 3 during any upkeep to remove a time counter from Infinite Hourglass. About 50 cents right now for this 5th edition card. I think there might be an Ice Age version as well if you prefer black border. Used in 0.02% of decks, and this is just going to make everyone's creatures bigger or force players to pay 3 to remove the time counters, and you're going to get the most benefit out of this because you can plan around it with these commanders: Obeka, Splitter of Seconds, the 10th Doctor, Kate Stewart. Your creatures are going to get bigger. Hopefully the other players won't have as many creatures and it won't make as big of a difference to them, and they will pay the 3 every once in a while to kind of burn some of their mana or slow them down a little bit, or maybe waste one of their removal spells in order to get rid of it. Card 13, Invasion Plans. It's about $1.50, used in 0.17% of decks. 2 in red, enchantment. Each creature blocks whenever able. Attacking players choose how each creature blocks. All blocking assignments must still be legal. This card in 2022-2023 spiked to about $4.50. It's back down. And this is just going to cause all sorts of chaos around the table, and hopefully you will be most prepared to deal with the ensuing chaos. Some of the players, some of the commanders that run this card: Norn the Wary again, Krenko Mob Boss. A lot of mono red, but some red green too I think is good here. Get some beefy blockers, get some creatures with some high toughness, or maybe a little bit of flying or evasion, and you can make best use out of this. This is one of those cards again that you're relying on your opponents to make bad decisions, and since you are running the card and playing it often, you will make good decisions. Iron Maiden is card 14 as we start to wrap up this list. 3 colorless artifact. During each of your opponent's upkeeps, Iron Maiden deals 1 damage to that player for each card more than 4 in his or her hand. The Maiden is a jealous lover. So I put this card on the list because it's been steadily rising since 2022, used in 0.13% of decks. But you might be able to pick up some slightly played, moderately played copies for a little bit cheaper. And it hasn't spiked like some of the other cards on this list, but it's been steadily rising, so you might want to consider picking up some copies before it gets out of hand. And this card specifically is used in these types of decks. Maybe decks where you force your opponents to draw cards, or pods where you know the other players are consistently just sitting on a lot of cards in their hand. These are the types of commanders that you'd want to run it in. And the last card on our list today, Juxtapose. 3 in a blue, sorcery. You and target player exchange control of the creature you each control with the highest converted mana cost, then exchange control of artifacts the same way. This version from 6th edition is under 50 cents, used in 0.02% of decks.
And it's the kind of card you're not going to want to use maybe right away. You're going to want to sit on it until there's a juicy target. And then hopefully you exchange control of something, maybe like a 2-drop or a 3-drop for maybe like a 7, 8, 9, 10 mana cost creature, and really make your opponent mad. The commanders that run this card: Nicol Bolas, and some other ones: Braids, Conjure, Adept, Ian Malcolm again. He's been on this list a lot today. Corona, False God. Yeah, again, you're looking to maybe snag their commander or one of their really expensive, like 7, 8, 9 drops, just for something cheap on your side. And there you have it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check the playlist for other videos and let me know in the comments if you use any of these cards or if any of them are just total trash. And here is the cheat sheet for all y'all who didn't want to listen to me talk. Thanks for watching.